Welcome to Evolve to Succeed, the podcast that brings together entrepreneurs, founders, business leaders and experts to talk about their journeys and explore the link between personal and business success. I'm your host, Warren Munson, founder of Evolve, a coaching, training and development company focused on enabling business and personal success and creating a community of like-minded individuals. Whether that be through our peer groups, one-to-one coaching, our training and development programs for you and your teams, or through our content and events, our mission is to get the best out of each individual and inspire them to be better both in life and in business. If you want to learn more about Evolve, including our beautiful co-working space in Ashley Cross in Poole, then please go to evolvemembers.com, where you'll find great content, insights, details of all of our services, and also information on our forthcoming events. For now though, let's get on with the show. This week we hear from Simon Hawtrey-Coombs, who amongst other things is a franchisee for the global DPD group for the Bournemouth branch, a position he has held since 2001. As well as this, Simon has owned and managed several businesses over the years and now uses his vast experience to work with and advise business owners and CEOs from both household names and startups. His pool of knowledge is shared and channeled through peer-to-peer. Simon is a passionate believer in working towards being your best self through business success, mindset management and health and well-being, and is a powerhouse of ideas and motivation with the business acumen to drive change and create momentum. I've known Simon for over 20 years, and this conversation covers a range of topics from both a business and a personal perspective, including the advantages and challenges of franchising, where he gets his incredible drive and enthusiasm from, how to engage customers with what he calls tiny, notable things, and what he would do differently if he started all over again. He also talks with admirable honesty about his struggles with alcohol and the benefits to his life of going sober a number of years ago. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation. Welcome, Simon, to the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Thank you, Warren. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, and it's great to have you on the podcast. There's so much that you and I can talk about. We've known each other for nearly 20 years, so I obviously know a lot about your story and your journey and some of the interesting things that have happened in terms of your life and in terms of business. So I think for our listeners, we're going to cover off franchises, we're going to cover off going sober, we're going to cover life balance, we're going to cover peer groups. There is so much, I'm sure, in this conversation that will be of value to our listeners. But I should probably start with you having the opportunity to give our listeners a little bit of a background to yourself, Simon, and how you came to start a business in the first place.
Yeah, thank you. It all started with the mighty parcel line, which became the DPD, really. And there's a very entrepreneurial business environment headed up by a great CEO called Colin Milbanks. And he gave us all the tools to do the work with some of the greatest brands in the world at that point. Sadly for me, it was a big commute into Birmingham every day. And I then started staying in Birmingham. And my daughter was born in 1995. Okay. And at that point in time, didn't really want to move to Birmingham. There's lots of offers about relocation. Unfortunately, the franchise came up for sale in Bournemouth, in my town, and I had a very, very good time with the DPD brand and had such great fun and such great learning within that environment that I felt confident that I could run my own business. But sadly for me, I was a great salesperson and not a great business person, and but sales kills everything within any business, and I felt that I was in business for myself when I started, but I wasn't by myself. I had a group of 100 other franchisees within our arena.
It was kind of a family environment, very supportive, I'd imagine.
It was really a very tight-knit community, not only around service proposition for our customers, our people, and the whole approach was how can we delight the customer in terms of delivery. So retention was good, and all of the business skills that you'd expect in a big corporate were fundamental within that business. And the understanding of business acumen was taught within that business arena. So it gave some great tools, as well as a lot of pressure around delivering service, sales, engagement, people, and this is 20 years ago, right?
Yeah. So, and do you think you're always destined to run your own business, or do you think it was kind of circumstance?
Well, the catalyst really was funding. This is a massive purchase over 20 years ago, and the banks were very reasonable and fair. In fact, I think they just gave money away in those days. And bless you, NatWest. But the difficulty, of course, is paying it all back. But I think destiny I think most people generally can be only what they can see.
Yeah.
So the environment you're in creates desire, and good or bad.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, having a disease of more is not good, or high expectations, or high levels of entitlement. But fundamentally, I think we've all got the fact that no one really likes being told what to do.
Yeah.
And when you continue being told what to do, and I think I want to get away from this. And I think COVID was a great enabler for people to really see what made them happy.
Yeah, a lot of people have changed their kind of journey and their direction of travel as a result of COVID, haven't they?
Yeah, and that definition of happiness, what really makes people happy, or you happy, and freedom, I think, in time.
And I always talk in a similar way, and I talk to people, what does good look like? And, not does what good look like from a business and a numbers perspective, but what does good look like for you as an individual and for your family, and where do you actually really want to be?
No, definitely. And the interesting thing around, winning back that time and creating extra bandwidth, you can do that when you work for yourself. I think the shackles are quite difficult when you're working in that corporate environment. Some people love it, and it's for them, and they succeed and they do extremely well in that business arena. Down to the leadership team and the bosses and the inspiration that's driven within those organisations can be as much fun as working for yourself, given that freedom.
And I suppose that was, from what you've said, that was your experience at DPD. You love the environment, you love being part of that corporate piece, you love driving the sales activity and everything else you did there. And then the opportunity came to, not wanting to need to relocate. So the opportunity came to take a franchise and start your own business. But I suppose one of the advantages of a franchise is that support. Do you think you're not left? Most startups, they may leave the corporate, and I remember my own stories of, laptop, phone on the desk. It was a bit of a wake-up call. You probably had a greater element of support around you. Is that one of the advantages of running a franchise?
For sure. Frames, formats, templates, and support, really, and nurture to be a success. It's in the franchisor's best interest to have outstanding, successful franchisees. Yeah. And soon became, within that environment, a training platform and forum for new franchisees to come in. I did start off as the youngest franchisee in the network, and now I'm the oldest franchisee in the network.
That's a definition of success in its own, isn't it, I suppose?
But for sure, the uncertainty around going into, because you have to create everything for the first time in your own business. Within a franchised business, everything's already been thought of, and you've got to, as a franchisor, have everything as a proven formula. And that takes a lot of headache and worry away from the business.
And I suppose it enabled you to play to your strengths, which was to go out and sell and build the business.
Went out and networked and had a lot of fun, met some amazing people over a great period of time. I know it reminds me of Liam Neeson, in Taken. I've got a special set of skills which I've learned over a very long period of time. And that was out in that networking forum, and so much so, enjoyed it so much that created our own network forum with lots of people. And I won't mention any names, but loads of amazing people. We've created these amazing networks to engage with amazing people.
Yeah. And I suppose that's a big bit of what you're about, isn't it? It's about partnership, collaboration, working with others to achieve success. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, definitely. Someone told me a very long time ago, and it might have been my father, that enthusiasm costs nothing, and having no enthusiasm can cost you everything.
Yeah.
And some great advice and great mentors. And I'm thinking, looking back on some of the things that you would have done differently, There's loads.
I'm going to come to that towards our final questions. I've got a question for you in that regard, so keep thinking while talking, Simon. But one of the things, and I love that, kind of piece of advice from your father about enthusiasm. Anybody that's met you would say that you've got this tremendous sense of energy, passion, and drive. And there's about, putting on a show and being enthusiastic is one thing, but where do you think that innate drive and energy comes from, Simon?
I think sort of around the mantra that, the greatest days, I ask my children what the greatest days that they enjoy the most in their lives, and they said, well, Christmas Day, their birthdays, and my eldest son said Glastonbury, okay? And those are great events in people's lives, surrounded with enthusiasm and planning, like our holidays. And I think, how can you make every day like a Christmas day?
Wow.
And it is about planning.
And do you honestly wake up thinking that?
Well, sometimes, I didn't. Some days were a bit foggy, and a lot of days were quite foggy. But I think that sort of the mantra of living your greatest life, around simple things, making your bed look like a Four Seasons hotel and the pillows plumped, laying your dinner table that it looks like a Michelin star restaurant. These are little tiny things that you can do, little habits that do make a difference. And thinking, or driving around in a spotlessly clean vehicle, rather than with the children's lunch from 3 days ago, still on the back seat. But you can create these tiny little habits that. And I drive my brother to frustration in terms of your life is always with your rose-tinted bloody glasses. So it can infuriate people in terms of that level of enthusiasm and energy. But like anything, you've got to turn up and do the best that you can,
it's
whatever
what you
it
put
is.
Into it,
Yeah, and if it enthuses other people, and people think, even when you've got a bright shirt on, Simon, all your stupid socks on, right? Noted, Warren, very nice socks. But you can light up a room when you walk into it, and it's best to light rooms up when you walk in rather than when you walk out. People go, oh my God, thank God he's gone. And enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And whilst always recognising, perhaps you are the leader of the pack in that environment, and sometimes you're a follower in other arenas, but to have that level of energy around other people will infuse them, and it's contagious. As is, we've had colleagues where they drag the whole office down, and they've got to managed out of the business because you can't have these neg ferrets.
You can't have the energy drains going on, can you?
And toxic energy vampires need to be removed. Or retrained or re-educated.
Or just coached.
And
And if you go back to your story, so did you say it was 1995
when my daughter was born? Yes.
Yeah. So start the franchise. I suppose relatively small to begin with. You start to build the franchise. I mean, what did those early years feel like? And and at what point did you feel like you had success in terms of the business?
It was a long time, and I was again surrounded by some amazing people that very, very well, and we were on a meal out or a night out or a boat show or very extravagant events, and one of our learned colleagues and friends would say, I'll get this, and I think it wasn't to the point where I could say I'll get this. I thought I'd made it.
Okay.
I was being in the room with some amazing people, picking up the bill, and I thought, oh my God, that's just it's amazing that you've just done that. It's so generous. And those people still do that today. Yeah. And it wasn't until I could do that.
Okay. It's an interesting metric, isn't it?
That I could do that and
feel comfortable doing it. And
not to show off.
Not ego.
Not. It was my turn. I felt it was my turn.
Yeah.
And it was good to be able to do that in lots of different environments. And some of them are, very small gestures, and some of them were astronomical. But it was a feel-good factor. To do that, but sometimes you are damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I'll give you a great example. If I'd won the lottery and I don't know, £50 million, and I offered to buy everybody lunch, they'd be upset because I was showing off.
Yeah.
And equally, if I didn't buy lunch, they'd think I was extremely
Sorry.
ungenerous. And why wasn't he paying? Because he's just won £50 million, right? So you have to be careful and get that balance right in the environment you're in. I have upset people by offering to get the bill. And even with family, it's we want to share and do this
right
together.
place, right time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I admired about you in terms of your DPD journey is there was a point, and I don't know when it was, and perhaps you can fill in some of the blanks, is where you brought in, Kester.
Yes.
From an operations point of view, you eventually became MD in the business.
Yes.
At what point did you realise you were missing skills that you needed to, and you needed somebody to play to some of the weaknesses you had in your leadership style, or you needed somebody on the ground in operations?
I'd say I'm going to take you right back to my first peer board attendance with a gentleman called Christopher Bayliss, who's responsible for a lot of success in Dorset and Hampshire. It was at the Dormy Hotel. And we did a piece around putting depth and substance in senior management teams right from day one, and recognising the rising stars and the talent within the business. And Kester did shine like a bright star within the business. And I'm pleased to say that 50% of the team that I had back in the very, very early days formed the senior management team of that substantial DPD business. And growing up with all of the intricacies of the development of the business and the brand and the entire infrastructure, property, clients, it's been a fabulous, fabulous journey. So our customers have been on that same journey with us as well.
Definitely.
We've got customers that were doing modest turnover revenues, SMEs, and exceeding the 100 million. That's our customers locally. That are smashing the Solent 250.
But to do that, you needed a management team. You needed somebody like
recognising the talents and the peer group. The first peer group came up with the recommendations and solutions. So have you considered? Crikey, no, I hadn't considered profiling the team and a training program and looking after the rising stars and bringing them on in terms of their aptitude towards progress. And fortunately, they're best in class. Within 100 sites around the United Kingdom, that team has won the top depot on numerous occasions, and it's something we're very, very proud of. To be the number one franchisee within the United Kingdom, not once, twice, but several occasions we've done that.
Fantastic.
It's, and you think it's a bit of a miracle, really. And we're always saying, new business cures everything within our.
Or does it just paper over the cracks?
It can do. Rising tide, we call it in other sectors. That you can get caught out. And I think it hasn't been a bed of roses. There's been tough quarters with HMRC and VAT. COVID was a real scare at the beginning. Brexit, lost 2/3 of our international bill revenues. So it's not just a plain sailing ride within the franchise organisation. And my franchise colleagues have gone into bankruptcy administration by not getting it right. So you're not protected 100% in the franchise network.
You're right. I suppose in having this conversation now is that the franchisor gives you that framework, the operational manuals, the kind of some discipline around the ops and the actual business model. But the things that trip you up in business still can trip you up, even if you're running a franchise, can't they?
Absolutely.
Because leading people, getting the money right, not taking on too much debt, getting paid by your customers, all of those things that would normally trip you up can still and believe in your own hype and all of those kind of things can still happen if you're a franchisee, can't they? And
we're only as good as the people that are looking after us. The team is critical, and a great book, Alistair Campbell, thinking about the goals, but you've got to have a team, and the team got to understand the tactics. And it's fascinating thinking we've got 90% of all of that right now. An amazing team. We've had an amazing proposition within our market space, a really compelling proposition in terms of text alert, email notifications, all the bells and whistles that we've created within the DPD arena and the offering. And of course, when we look at, I can remember in 2017, gifted at our conference the £1 billion coin. Well done, Simon, you're part of this. We've hit £1 billion revenues in the United Kingdom, and there's only 837 companies that do £1 billion in the UK, UK-owned businesses, and it halves again in terms of the metrics, and I do like those metrics. In the UK, only 8,000 businesses that have got more than 250 people that work for them.
There's some scary stats around that. The number of businesses that get to £1 million is minute, isn't it? It's a very single-digit percentage.
Yeah, and we've worked with. It's just an absolute honour, like Ben Francis from Gymshark, and seeing the impact of brands like Gusto, HelloFresh, even locally. Some amazing stories. Conquer Gin, Jimmy's Ice Coffee, True Dark. The list is endless of the spirit of entrepreneurialism that we've been able to look after in this conurbation in Southampton as well. And what a great and excited about this, coming up for our Christmas peak now. So we'll be planning the parcel deliveries for everyone's Christmas. We can't get that wrong.
September.
So it's
and you've still what I love is you've still got that energy and that passion and that drive and all of those things that we've talked about. I think we've alluded to it. I think one of the things you get right is relationships and sales, and I think that so many businesses perhaps don't get beyond 2 or 3 people, or definitely don't get anywhere near £1 million turnover, is because they get the sales, the relationships, the client delight piece wrong. So any top tips you would give to somebody listening to this that wants to focus on those areas?
Yeah, I from experience in terms of the customer journey that most of us create about engaging customers, and our funnels are quite cool, right? They're quite good.
Yeah.
And the piece around, now we've got them as a customer, they've agreed to engage with us, and what that looks like is pretty good as well normally.
So that kind of funnel piece, the customer journey piece. Yeah.
The last piece is what creates a lifetime journey of the customer. Why are people still trading and working with you? And there is the area that you can create what we call our TNTs, are tiny noticeable things that can, like TNTs, like the bombs that blow the customer, thinking, oh my God, when I dealt with Warren, you wouldn't believe it. And I always laugh. One of the greatest examples I can share with you is going to the Four Seasons Hotel in Geneva, and a good friend of mine went in, we had a few drinks and we had backpacking, we were going skiing. We came out of that hotel and we were laughing our socks off, because the service was so good, the whole experience was so good, that we just thought that they thought we were somebody else. Rock stars, Hollywood, royalty, or they're just completely mistaken who we are because the service was that good. And that's the piece, the advice that when you've got a customer, what can you do to create those TNTs that are so engaging that, because normally what happens at that point, we've done the funnel, we've got them in, we've invoiced them, we've created a sort of relationship, and now we've just taken them for granted. Yeah. And that happens in life as well. And you think in that point where you've taken that client for granted is the moment they say, we're going somewhere else. Yeah. We're going to go and work with someone else because you've upset us. And you don't know you've upset them because you've not engaged, And, send them a monthly newsletter isn't good enough. Right?
No. Some examples of TNTs that you've done, do you think?
My favourite TNT, again, talk about the Four Seasons, DPD. Think we don't want to align ourselves to FedEx or UPS, DHL. We want to align ourselves to a brand that has the same values and purpose that we feel that we have. And Four Seasons is clear that if you are within 3 foot of a Four Seasons, you're a guest. Yeah. You're owned by that person. It doesn't matter what position they hold in there. And Four Seasons in Dubai, DPD would take our top people over to these hotels. We're in the the Four Seasons in Dubai, and our CEO said to one of the guys, Chris, said, "What's the best moment for you in Dubai?" And he said, "It's my book, Dwayne. It's my book." And he said, "What do you mean it's your book?" He said, "Well, I had a brand new book as a hardback. I didn't want to fold the pages in or crease the front cover, so I just got a tissue, put it into my book, did the first chapter, left it on side, but you wouldn't believe it." He said they put a Four Seasons bookmark in that. And there's just tons of... Adrian Webster has got a book called Tiny Noticeable Things on the back of his book, Polar Bear Pirates, and he talks about some of the amazing, tiny, noticeable things that you can do with your prospective clients that just wow them. And it is in terms of what your compelling offer is with your client, and also that they just feel that they're going to be looked after. You're going to be looked after.
I've always had this concept, but TNT takes it to another stage, is of client delight. Just do the things that put a smile on a client's face.
And it's the things you do when you're not being watched that really make the difference. And but doesn't that sum up life and integrity and values? There's so many people out there portray these values that they may live their lives by, but what do they do when nobody's watching? That's key. What's the things that you do when, and the people that don't tell you what they are doing, even the amazing stuff, you're thinking, that I didn't know you did that. That's amazing. And but of course, with social media, it is very, very easy to fall into the trap of this humble bragging. I've done this and I've done that. I've done that. But being quiet and standoffish and quiet is much better. Got
to talk about it because I think it's a really important subject. Is that we talk about you having this kind of passion, this energy, this drive, fun person to be around, but a lot of that stemmed in your 30s and your 40s from alcohol and drinking and being a sociable guy that would always have a drink in his hand. And 3 years ago,
4 years ago, nearly 4 years ago.
So tell our listeners a little bit about that journey story. Why?
I think the sort of the consumption element of it wasn't serving me well in terms of how it made me feel. In terms of, I mean, people that know me for a long time will know me. My handle was Crazy Hawtrey, right? He's a nutter, right? And there he is, buying all the drinks, doing the shots, and last man standing at the bar. And it is a great social piece, and could end up anywhere, on a night out. It'd be fantastic. And it wasn't until some people were saying, it was great to see you last night, Simon. And I can remember Darren Mooney, saying, it's great to see you last night. You're doing some moves on the dance floor, thinking, I can't even remember being there.
Was I there?
Right. And we're at the massive chamber event, and I'd, just enjoying the evening, a couple of bottles of wine, and I thought, it's not even 10 o'clock, we haven't started the awards yet. So I knew I needed to slow down. Went off to this amazing conference in Birmingham, saw Russell Brand and Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, and one of our members in a peer board worked for, was an executive in Gulfstream. These jets are £60 million. And he said, Simon, do you know how much the first service was? And I said, no idea. How much is the first service? £1 million. He said, no, it's a £60 million jet. First service, how much do you think it is? So I don't know. He said, it's £10 million for the first service on this jet. I'm thinking, crikey, you've saved £60 million. Who on earth, and he knew his ideal client persona. And that was at that moment in time, the 2,664 billionaires on the planet. He knew all of them, where they lived, what they loved, what they did, what their hobbies, and they had that was their database. These are the guys most likely
to go buy a Gulfstream,
to buy this plane. And it just hit a raw note. And I always say, successful people leave clues, healthy people leave clues, a whole breadcrumb trail of clues. So he then shared with me the fact that out of the 80% of these people didn't drink. And I thought, that's quite interesting. Wow. And then I did a little bit of more research, and if you look at sober celebrities on Instagram, there's another example. You find that 80% of the Hollywood acts don't drink. 80% of the pop stars and the people, the most influential people on the planet, they're not drinking. However, the billionaires have got the best wine selections, but as an investment. And I thought, I'm going to do Remember December, because that'd be quite difficult. Everyone does Dry January, but I created this.
This thing was Remember December.
Because crikey, I don't remember very many of them. And I made January. Given the fact that I met this amazing lady who is my partner now, who didn't drink and was about a year ahead of me. So I saw the benefits of someone not drinking for a year, and the clarity and the energy that this person had, and Sharon. So I thought I'd give it a go. And then, of course, it's very easy to sort of segue into the Dry January. I thought after 2 months, I felt pretty good, right? Thinking, like my 10-year-old son at the time, he wakes up every morning and he sort of pats himself down and he jumps around and he's gone, right? He's on it. So I've tried a few more months, and by May, I sort of felt transformation, and I got into this hot yoga at Wombrel in Bournemouth. Hot yoga, 40 degrees, and it was fabulous, and sort of felt very, very energised and alive. And then the mornings became mine.
Okay. You weren't nursing a hangover.
It's crazy. And I also discovered, Warren, that I could drive my car around at night. And it had lights, because it's always taxis and car backs, right? So I could drive my car around at night. And year one was very difficult because I had that persona of being this party
and I suppose
guy.
Everywhere you went to an event, it was the first time you'd been to that event, not drinking.
Have a drink.
Yeah.
And the most difficult place was in AFC Bournemouth in the box I share with my friends. So the first year was quite difficult. Second year, and of course, not drinking, doing yoga, they decided to call me Gandhi.
Who needs
cruel friends, not only having ginger hair, freckles and glasses, I'm now called Gandhi. But then the second year, they sort of, hats off to you. And third year was quite inspirational, and thinking most people I do talk to would say, I'd like to slow down, I'd like to stop. And, if I can help more people slow down and stop, it is a great place to be, to have that clarity and energy. And you think, we have a drink to celebrate, we have a drink to commiserate, we have a drink when we're cooking, and I blame Floyd because I love cooking. And you could, he always had a glass of red wine, didn't he? A massive glass of red wine whilst he was cooking. So it's...
and do you think your life is now different to it would have been if you'd kept
exactly the same? In fact, you've got more energy, more time, more understanding, more clarity with the people, and you can listen. You just know what's going on because you're not in this foggy AM or PM, you're not in this foggy. But what is frustrating is that when people have had a lot to drink and they're on the third story for the third time, and you did see me 3 hours ago, and they've said, "Whoa, it's great to see you. You've seen me 3 times now."
Brilliant. And again, hints and tips. I think you probably alluded to it. If somebody's listening to this and thinks that I want to abstain for a period, or at least give it a go, what's the first things you think they should do? I
think the understanding is why if you can, enjoy in moderation, which is very civilized, with a very nice whispering angel, a lovely Chateau Neuf de Paris, whatever it is, okay, and you can have 1 or 2 glasses or enjoy a really nice gin, carry on. But generally, 1 turns into 2, turns into 3, and then it is, I've never regretted 1 day of sobriety, never, 1 day.
Brilliant.
And I'd give it a go. 3 months, and you'll see the difference.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for being so honest about your journey and your story. I suppose we should allude to the fact that we're both very passionate about peer groups. We both run peer groups in slightly different ways, but we love the concept. It was how we met. We met at something called Bowshot when we were both very early on in our business journeys back in 2005, I think it must have been.
Wow, that long ago.
It's scary, isn't it? Yeah. And therefore, what makes, why are you such a believer in the power of peer groups?
I feel that, given the fact that if you play squash with an Olympic squash player every single week, and you've never played squash before, you're going to get very, very good very, very quickly. And I think Jim Rohn always says, you are the sum of the parts of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And we've got a choice over that in terms of who we spend our time with. And if you lie down with dogs, you will come up with fleas. And if you hang around with idiots, you'll become an idiot. So always surround yourself with people that are moving at a quicker, faster rate than you are, or perhaps you want to aspire to where those people are. And we love our our peer groups. We love hosting them. And when we drive into our venues and there's helicopters and Ferraris and beautiful settings in beautiful hotels, that's aspirational. For me, people are there for lots of different reasons. People want to win time. People want to be healthy. People want to create wealth. And some of the parts is the people in the room, not me, but the people in the room can make that difference for our members. And sharing their journey is and through collaboration and understanding. But hey, if you're with a group of people that are facing the same challenges as you are, and sharing that within a confidential environment, hey, it's going to help, isn't it? And thinking, well, from my experience, have you considered or have you thought of? And it is absolutely amazing. Having been a member like yourself, Warren, for many, many years, and you're thinking, we've done a skill up session, we've done a hot seat, we've done all these component parts. And when we're going a summary at the end of the day, 4-hour session, and thinking, right, what are you going to do as a result of today? And and they say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and thinking, not even thought of that.
Yeah.
And that is the gold.
That's it. It's that inspiration. But it is also that I think that running a business is such a lonely thing, isn't it? And that to surround yourself with like-minded people that definitely still think differently and can challenge you in a constructive way is the power, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we love the accountability aspect of it in terms of what you committed to, and you shared that with your peers, and the sort of the momentum and traction and with it, and guilty, that inspiration coming out of that room for the morning or the afternoon, and thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and actually, challenging, the team and not coming back and doing stuff. And as you know, Warren, I do not I call them Gunners, right? Not the Arsenal fans, Gunners, but people say they're going to do this and going to do that, right? And it's so frustrating. They actually don't do anything. When they have committed in the room, it's very, very difficult. So they either crack on and create traction, and not forgetting that the private sector funds the public sector. We can't even hit 1,000 organisations in the United Kingdom that turn over $1 billion, UK owned. And what life would be like for all of us if there was 2,000 companies that did $1 billion, in terms of what our roads would look like, what our streets would look like, what our educational system would look like, and healthcare would look like, because that private sector does fund the public sector, and there isn't enough success in this country to fund what we need. So if we can make an impact on creating more success, more entrepreneurs, and more fun, what a great place to be.
Do you think we support, it's an interesting question, do you think we support as a nation and celebrate the success enough of our business owners and our entrepreneurs and our business leaders? Like the US would do. Do you think we do?
No, we're not very good. We're not good at a local level. And we've been blessed with Stephen Bartlett and Prince William coming to Bournemouth this week, but we haven't got that, what I call the je ne sais quoi. I'll give you a very small example. The Ivy wanted to come to Bournemouth. Yeah. Destination restaurant would have been fabulous for this town. And they've decided not to come, whether they didn't get planning or consent for a digital license. I sort of don't know, but no one's rung them.
No.
Said, hey, where would you like to be in Bournemouth? Yeah. We've got Westover Road, it's pretty cool. We've got these other, but thinking like the Welsh Development Agency and like Ireland have attracted all of the biggest IT companies on the planet, right? And we haven't got that at a local level. We haven't got, up from a national level in terms of attracting. And when you put corporation tax up to 25%, you're going to push organisations away. What message
does it send? Yeah.
And again, successful countries, there's a recipe for success, and there's a load of clues.
Like
even in
follow the breadcrumbs.
Follow the breadcrumbs of Winchester, Bath, Chichester. These are thriving town centres and communities, and thinking, what are we doing wrong in Bournemouth and what we could do? And there's a big steep hill to climb in order to turn that around. But the regeneration of what city centres will look like.
It's a topic in itself, isn't it? Absolutely. What's next for Simon then?
Well, I've got about 20 years left, I think.
Okay.
That I'd like to
Business.
work. Yeah, 20 years in
please,
business.
let's have more of Simon for more than 20 years.
Yeah. And if I can continue, with yoga and not drinking and putting the right fuel in my body, who knows? But interestingly, Warren Buffett said, if you were given, Warren, a brand new car on the day you were born, and it was your car of choice, whatever that would be, what would it be?
It would have been, just 911.
911, okay. Now Warren Buffett's told you, Warren, that you've got to make that last for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is about, I'm not going to put in Jaeger bombs. I'm not going to put Sambucas in there. I'm going to service it. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to look after it every single day. But we don't do that for ourselves, okay? So it's a great message for Warren. So 20 years, we want to continue to help SMEs. I think we're going to move into the 50, 100 million sector, in terms of that, our peer proposition, and at what we call a platinum level. And equally, as you know from your accountancy, that it's the same issues, whether you've got 10 people, 100 people, or 1,000 people. Same issues that you'll face as a CEO. And we think we've got the tools and templates in order to support that. So we're going to have a lot of fun there and really think about how I can make every single day like Christmas Day.
Fantastic. I always end with the same question, so I'm going to have to ask it. And I'm fascinated given, what I know of you and our conversation today. Simon, what is your personal definition of success?
Happiness.
Simple as that.
To be happy.
To be happy. Every single day. Fantastic. Simon, it's been a great conversation. It's been a great insight into you. Thank you for the energy you've given our conversation. If people want to know more about you, more about the businesses that you run, where can they go?
Yeah, please, Simon HC on LinkedIn. You can reach out on peer-to-peer.global.
Perfect. Thank you for being a great guest on the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Brilliant. Thanks, Warren. Great to catch up.
Thank you for listening to the Evolve to Succeed podcast. My hope with every episode is that you've learned something new or heard something that challenged your way of thinking and further motivated you on your path towards becoming a more knowledgeable, informed and inspired individual and business leader. If you enjoyed this episode, then please help us by rating, reviewing and subscribing. We really value your feedback and would love to have you along for future episodes. And please don't forget to learn more about Evolve by going to evolvemembers.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.